There are many game genres. RPGs, FPSs, MMOs. But did you know that there is a genre that hardly anyone knows about, that is well and truly one of the greatest? What is this mythical genre, I hear you ask? It is known simply as the marble genre. And now, a choice. Two marbles. You pick the blue marble, and you go back to your traditional pop culture genres. But if you pick the red marble, I'll show you just how far niche gaming genres really go. The choice is yours. Our story begins in 2005, or 2006. You know, maybe even 2007. Look, I can't remember. The mid-2000s, whatever. The Xbox 360 was in its prime. I could go on forever about the amazing features the 360 brought to the console market at launch, from achievements to an actually decent online service, etc, etc. But perhaps one of the greatest yet underrated features was that of the Xbox Live Arcade. Now, I first discovered the Xbox Live Arcade from this free demo disc I got with my copy of Project Gotham Racing. It contained short trial versions of many different arcade hits from back in the day. I can't be the only one who remembers Geometry Wars, right? But out of all the games on the disc, one stood out from the rest, and that was Marble Blast Ultra. Trying to explain what Marble Blast Ultra is to someone who hasn't played it, or any Marble game for that matter, is difficult. Not because the game is hard to understand, but because it's one of those games you have to play to truly judge. You see, you play as a marble, and your goal is to traverse the level to get to the end. Looking at it, one might think it seems pretty boring. I mean, rolling around a marble? Seriously? But everyone, and I mean everyone, well, almost everyone, who played this knows how fun and addicting it was. Despite being such a simple concept, it worked, and worked well. So much so that I found myself often choosing to play this small game over many AAA titles at the time. Not because of its graphics or soundtrack, which by the way were both great, but because of its amazing gameplay. But you'll notice, I'm talking about Marble Blast Ultra in the past tense, as if it's died. And that's weird because games don't die, right? Well, actually, this is one of the rare cases where it kinda did. Marble Blast Ultra was a game exclusive to the Xbox Live Arcade, meaning that you couldn't get your hands on it anywhere else. However, in 2011, the game was removed from the store, so even if you wanted to spend your hard-earned V-Bucks on it, you couldn't. This is to do with some financial troubles the publishers of the game found themselves in, and the resulting bankruptcy, meaning Microsoft was forced to take it off the store as there was no body to give any money to anymore. Or at least, that's the rumour, anyway. Business aside, what this meant is that if you wanted to play a marble game post-2011, you were out of luck.
If somebody saw this, and they wanted to get this game, tough fucking noodles. They don't sell it anymore. Company went out of business.
I mean, sure, you could play Marble Blast Ultra's predecessor, Marble Blast Gold, but well, when it looks like something that crawled out of Microsoft Bob, it's hard to appreciate. Marble Blast Ultra was later ported by fans to the PC, somehow, but alas, a true commercial and official product in the Marble genre was nowhere to be seen. This became known in the Marble community as the Great Famine of the 2010s, whereby Marble fans alike suffered immensely, day by day, forced to replay levels of the now sacred Marble Blast Ultra just to retain a shred of sanity. That was until this.
Hey everybody, welcome to a very special trailer reaction, and yes, I'm on vacation, but it's happened. It just came out like 23 minutes ago. I'm hot and sweaty. It is hot out here. It's beautiful. I think we've got it. The teaser is loaded, buffered, ready to go, so hopefully internet here is not a problem. And man, oh man. So, yeah, sorry I'm a little hot and sweaty, but you know, it's awesome. It's been a great day already. Sure, I'm gonna cry, and you know, I'm really looking forward to this. So if it's not your thing and you're hating on it, just let us have a good time here, because this is about a place to, you know, have fun with it. And you know, if there are plenty, I'm sure there'll be plenty of places for you to go complain if it's not your bag. To each their own. I'm not judging anybody. I got tissues on standby. It's 2 minutes. We're probably gonna watch it twice. It's gonna be a little bit hard for me to see. I hope it's not that dark. But yeah. Oh man, we have waited a long time for this. Let's do it.
In the beginning, there was gold. Then came the Ultra. But now it's time to marble it up.
Finally, after many years, a true sequel was unveiled, made by many of the passionate developers who made Marble Blast Ultra. Truth be told, I was skeptical at first. Under a brand new name, could they really reinvigorate the Marble genre that had been dormant for oh so long? Would they get the physics right? What about the customization? Would the levels be too easy or too hard? Only time would tell. Spoiler alert, it's incredible. One of the main reasons past Marble games were so liked was that they felt great to play, and that all comes down to the physics. The physics are arguably the most important aspect of a Marble game. If the marble feels slippery or rigid, the entire game is ruined. It has to be just right, and they feel just right in Marble It Up. As soon as you start to move around the marble, you will understand instantly what I mean by this. The marble doesn't just roll, however, you can jump, which on long levels increases velocity and thus speed, which is important, as though the main aim of the game is to just complete levels, you get different medals based on how quickly you do it. Bronze is awarded for a slow completion, silver for slightly faster, gold for fast, and diamond for unreal speed. Obviously, I always got diamond. You want to aim for the highest possible, as not only will you unlock things, but you can compare your times with others to see who's the real Marble Maestro. The game also spices levels up with power-ups, a signature of past Marble games. There are 4 in total, and though many are optional, they are often required even for basic completion. Super Speed makes the marble blast forward at thunderous speed. Super Jump erupts the marble in the air. Wings decreases the gravitational pull the marble has, allowing access to faraway platforms. And Time Travel slows down the clock to help get better medals. I admire all of the power-ups except the wings, as honestly, the effect feels poorly executed. The rest are true staples of the Marble genre, however, and they make the game far more fun. But what use are power-ups without levels to play them on? Well, you will be pleased to know that Marble It Up is jam-packed with many levels with great level design. Mostly. In Marble Blast Ultra, levels were split up into 3 difficulty categories: beginner, intermediate, and expert. Marble It Up takes a different approach, splitting levels up into different chapters, with each level meant to be getting more and more difficult passively. Levels are very varied. Some levels have you simply get to the end, others have you collecting gems, some have you on ice to make you slip up, whereas others use gravity to confuse the player. Despite this, I have to say that Marble It Up feels considerably easier than Marble Blast Ultra. Marble Blast Ultra's expert levels were well known to put it bluntly, take the piss in terms of difficulty. But Marble It Up's levels, even in the later chapters, feel quite a cakewalk in comparison. Except this one level in the Mayhem version called Escalation, which had me stuck on it for 30 minutes. But the only reason I was stuck on it for so long is because of my biggest complaint with the entire game, which is how checkpoints work. When you fall in Marble It Up, you don't restart from the start of the level, thankfully, if you have passed a checkpoint. However, if on your way down you happen to hit a previous checkpoint, that will now become your current checkpoint. Meaning that if a level's vertical, you could lose many minutes worth of progress, which is especially frustrating if you've spent a long time passing a difficult path. This, in my opinion, should not be the case. Previous checkpoints should be invalid if a checkpoint ahead is hit, unless the level is non-linear, which the majority are not regardless. Apart from that, however, I found myself having a blast in the levels provided. There weren't too many to the point where it got boring trying to complete the game, but not too little that it had me feeling ripped off. The game's graphics are much improved from Marble Blast Ultra, as to be expected. The levels look very soothing to the eye, incorporating the Marble genre's trademark space theme. It's like ASMR for the eyes. It's hard to make complaints here. The soundtrack, a lot of which has been playing throughout this review, is also phenomenal. It's much more upbeat compared to prior games, which can be a positive or negative depending on what you prefer, but I like it. In regards to the customization, there are many marbles to unlock and choose from. My personal favourite is this burger marble, but I haven't been able to figure out what to do to actually unlock it, as until you unlock a marble, you don't get to see what it looks like, meaning that it's like a game of Where's Wally, and you just have to pray to get the one you actually want based on predicting titles, which often doesn't work out. So I just had to settle on this Earth one instead, unlocked by getting all diamond medals in the first chapter's levels. Checkmate, Flat Earthers. You can unlock marbles in many ways by, as previously stated, medals, but also finding them hidden in levels. These are both great ideas, as unless you're Einstein, there's no way you would have got diamond and found all the hidden marbles on your first playthrough, allowing great amounts of replayability. There's also these glowing trails which activate as you move around, which, to memory, is an addition to the genre and much welcomed, even if in the grand scheme you don't really notice them. You may have noticed earlier I said the Mayhem version of the game, and this is very confusing indeed, but there are actually two different versions of Marble It Up. The first, simply titled Marble It Up, and a sort of standalone expansion pack called Marble It Up Mayhem. The two are basically identical games in terms of graphics, soundtrack, etc., but have different levels. The Mayhem version is designed first and foremost for mobile devices like tablets, and if you have an Apple device, you can actually get a free month of Apple Arcade and play through the entire game completely for free, with no microtransactional bullshit either. You literally pay nothing for what is hours upon hours worth of entertainment. It's a complete bargain, and probably the only game on iOS that doesn't suck. There is one clear difference between the two versions, however, and that is multiplayer. The Mayhem version has multiplayer, which I have to say is an absolute disaster. Don't get me wrong, the gameplay is good. The aim is to collect as many gems as possible and have more than other players. The biggest problem with multiplayer is that there's hardly anyone playing. 90% of the time I entered a lobby, it was just me there. The other 10% was when I was matched with this guy called Jam Peters, who seemed to have been on his own for the past few minutes and already had a massive head start, which made me not want to bother trying to compete. This isn't exactly the developer's fault, I suppose, as no doubt they want as many players as possible, but regardless, it's not very multiplayer if you're the only player. One addition to the multiplayer which is not anywhere in the single player is the reinstation of the Blast. The Blast was a staple of Marble Blast Ultra, so much so that it was in its name. It allowed players to jump further ahead or blast stuff, in this case other players away. I tried to use it on Mr. Jam Peters, but ended up just killing myself in the process. Great. I have to say, I don't miss the blast in terms of the single player. The game actually feels much better without it. Sometimes less is more. The ping was also through the roof. I'm not sure where these servers are hosted, but my word, hopefully not in space as the game is, but I wouldn't be surprised with ping like this. I'm sure if there were other players, this would be a lot of fun, but I don't know why the developers didn't just do this instead. You know in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe how you can race other players without them being there? You race a sort of spectral version of them, and see exactly how they got the time they did in real time. Imagine that, but racing against a spectral marble of other players trying to do better than their times. That way, players wouldn't even need to be present for a multiplayer interactive experience. After all, as the game is based all around speed anyway, wouldn't this be better? I also mourn the fact there's no real map editor. One of the main features I liked about Halo was Forge. Being able to craft and showcase maps to other players would be an amazing feature to the game, and provide players with virtually unlimited content going forward. The single player is great, but there was a lot of missed potential on the multiplayer, for sure. So there we have it. Marble it up. A real blast back to the past. There's only one thing left to do now. The ratings. First, let's give the game a players before profit classification. This judges the game purely on how financially respectable it is to its customer base. There are 5 points that determine what players before profit classification a game gets. The first, does the game have microtransactions? And I am pleased to report there is not a slither of greed in this game whatsoever. Pass. The second, is the game actually finished? As I just finished it, I think it is. Pass. The third, does the game have a physical copy? And sadly, I have not been able to find a physical copy of this game, which is surprising, as it's certainly worth one. I can only hope that this game never gets lost to the digital dungeon as Marble Blast Ultra did. A fail. The fourth, is the game pushing a political agenda? Yes, the red marbles are clearly communist. No, pass. And fifth and finally, do the developers respect their customers? The developers of the game not only have their own subreddit, but Discord too, to interact with the players. I've also been very impressed with their clear and concrete understanding of the Marble genre, and have seen zero disrespect towards players whatsoever. Pass. Marble It Up has passed 4 of the 5 tests, giving the game a yellow players before profit classification. And now, the actual game rating. As much as I adore Marble It Up, I can't jump the gun as I normally do, and say it is one of the most revolutionary games of our generation, as it isn't, but nor does it try to be. It fills a niche, and does so very well. It's a great few hours of entertainment, and I'm so glad it exists despite being so niche. Therefore, I give Marble It Up a solid rare. My 3 main positive takeaways. Number 1, the physics. They feel just right, and they had to, else the game would not be the same. So good job. Number 2, the graphic style. Yes, that's graphic style and not graphics. I'm really glad the developers stuck with the signature marble space aesthetic. They could have easily changed it to something inferior, but to me, this is a staple of the genre. That may be me just being a little bit weird, but hey, I like it. Number 3, the variety of levels. Never did I feel like I was bored, or that 2 levels were the same. Top notch. My 3 main negative takeaways. Number 1, the checkpoint system for reasons listed earlier. Number 2, the multiplayer being borderline useless. And number 3, the confusing differing versions, which made this game a bit of a pain in the ass to review honestly. I personally would have just ported the original game to mobile devices, rather than creating what is essentially a whole new game with the same assets, so then you could actually focus your efforts on making an actual whole new game. My ultimate advice to the developers would be to make a sort of Marble It Up Ultra, a sequel game to this one, which ditches the useless multiplayer aspect and replaces it with the Mario Kart spectral speed comparisons, with an in-game level designer. Even more marble customization, such as rolling sounds and some more imaginative and innovative power-ups that haven't been featured in past games. Let the Marble It Up series become not just a shadow of Marble Blast, but the true king of the genre. People need to know the marble genre isn't just a blast from the past, but has a great future too. So there we have it folks, Marble It Up. I hope you all enjoyed this production, but before you go, we want to know, did you play Marble Blast Ultra back in the day? If so, are you planning on playing Marble It Up? Or have you already? Feel free to go in depth and let us know. Cheers!